Hello and welcome everybody to Anago Marketing's first ever live stream here on Facebook. So I'm really excited to be doing this with a really exciting guest, Justin Abramser, who is an absolute expert in Google Ads and social media advertising. So if you're a small business owner, this conversation is going to be so helpful for you. It's really just the precursor to a masterclass. Well, in the world of Flower Cafe, we call it a masterclass, but this class will actually be aimed at absolute beginners. So if you're a beginner, you've been intrigued about how to do your own Google ads or Facebook ads or any kind of social media advertising, then this class is for you. So the class that we are hosting together is going to be on Saturday, the 26th of August. Possibly hosted at Flower Cafe, possibly hosted online. The time will be 9:30 to 12:30. So if you'd like to sign up for that, please make a note and you can email me. My email address rather is lisa@anagomarketing.co.za. Otherwise, without further ado, I would love to crack on with Justin. Hello, Justin.
Hi, Lisa. Thank you for having me today.
It's so great to have you. I almost want to say on the show, but this is not really a show. It's more of a webinar. And can you tell us a little bit about your background? How long have you been doing what you've been doing? How did you get so passionate about this real little slice of the marketing world?
So great. Thanks for that. It's largely started when I started my career and ultimately studies. So I specialized in graphic design. From that, I moved more into web design and found that ultimately websites, so we developed websites for users, but found that us creating websites was essentially us parking them in the middle of the desert. So there was actually a big need, especially for me, the company that we started, and the clients to actually get the traffic that they needed, not just have a vehicle that could now potentially sell products, but the big need was the traffic, the customers. So marketing became a more need for myself, for the business, and for our clients, not just have the fact that we could create these beautiful aesthetic websites, but actually generate traffic and assist these companies to grow their businesses online. So with that, essentially, it's been a long journey. Very excited to say that, but largely the marketing's been in place for about 10 to 12 years now. On average, in terms of monthly spend, I manage across all platforms, be it now TikTok ads, Google ads, Facebook ads, estimated between 300K to $500,000 a month on advertising. And then from that, there could be depends on if it's lead generation or actually e-commerce sales. It ranges from 5,000 leads to 10,000 leads generated and over 1,000 products sold each month. So it's focusing on results and not just the awareness and engagement. Those are aspects that are needed for a business, but it's actually how can we generate results so that businesses can monetize and grow and scale their businesses online and actually hopefully invest and contribute to the economy.
That's brilliant, Justin. Please excuse me, everyone. Load shedding has just touched my life. So I look like I've gone into witness protection, but sadly Eskom has done its thing. But that's incredible, Justin. I think most of the people who join us to view this conversation essentially are looking for more sales. If you're a small business owner, money through the door, cash flow is massive. So I think those points that you touched on are going to be super. Let's crack on and talk about the benefits of Google Ads. Why should someone who's maybe starting their own business or has been an entrepreneur running their own business or businesses start considering Google Ads in their lineup of marketing?
Well, I think that's a great question. And with that, Google Ads is very powerful, especially for South African business owners, as it can, firstly, it allows you to position your brand and company at the top of Google without the need of SEO. And you can actually then, if you are a small to medium-sized business, you could actually present your brand up top there with some of the top dominating businesses and potentially gain some of that market share. So I would say that's probably the first benefit is the visibility that you can obtain. With that, Google is the largest search engine within South Africa, the most utilized, and where the customers go to provide their searches so that they can find the products, services that they're looking for. That being said, on Google every day within South Africa, there are over 10 million auctions happening on Google search every single day. So there's, for certain searches, there are over 100 companies competing against the same keywords to display their messaging to their specific or that intended client. So Google Ads can be a very competitive space, but at the same time, it can be, if we strategize and identify our target markets, audiences, and ideal goals, we can align that and create creative ways to actually bring down the costs and see a higher return on investment from the ads to allow businesses to scale. Second with that would probably be cost control, that a business can start with any budget. We don't have to look at high budgets to start running ads on Google Ads. A minimum budget of 10 to 20 Rand a day could suffice. And if your campaigns are optimized well enough, you could generate results from that and acquire clients. So with that, the next probably benefit is the local versus global targeting. You can be very specific with the targeting within Google to be granular in terms of either target specific suburbs, even potential buildings, if you know how to configure that. And on a larger scale, you could target specific countries or continents or globally if you actually could attract those clients and convert them online. There are a variety of other benefits, and that would, depending on the platform or the type of ads you'll be running, because with Google Ads, it can be quite vast. So there's YouTube ads, display ads, search ads, shopping ads. So it's also identifying what is your specific goal, what is the best platform or objective to create, and then follow through with that. But I think that's something we'll also be touching on shortly.
Yes, absolutely. I think also, just to circle back to one of your opening remarks there, that a lot of business owners aren't aware of. So I started warning clients several years ago that when social media first came out, we were getting so much organic traffic and organic results. You didn't have to try very hard to get lots of views on your content, lots of engagement. And of course, as these platforms began to develop and began to get shareholders, there was more and more pressure for them to monetize and make more money from these social platforms. So that unfortunately has become reality in this day and age. As of 2023, you must be advertising. You cannot rely on simply on content creation to meet your objectives, to meet your goals. It's kind of like gambling at the moment. So I think what any small business owner needs to consider very strongly is pairing their content creation campaigns with advertising campaigns. So this is why we've kind of reached full circle in a sense. And I'm saying to all of my clients, we must advertise. So very, very happy to be talking to you, Justin. Such a great conversation for this moment in time. But I think let's kick off with some of the questions that business owners will either be asked by the experts like me or you, or if they're doing it themselves and they're going to try and go it alone rather, then they need to be asking themselves these questions. Because of course, if you're going to be spending money on advertising, you want to make sure that it's doing its job. So before you click anywhere, before you go and start creating your creative, which is what people call your advertising collateral, the first question you should be asking is, who is your target market? What are your thoughts, Justin?
Great. No, I think so. Yes, that is probably one of the most important questions a business should align and identify in their strategy before creating. Who am I going to be presenting my ad to? Who is my product or service intended to? And on that mark is what the ad I'm creating. Is it an educational ad or a sales ad? So that would also align with if the dependent in the person's taking action right now, or if it'll be taking action at a later stage. And for the market to be effective, ultimately, initially, you would like to see results immediately. So creating campaigns that are very targeted, very specific, and in line with your needs so that you can monetize and you can ensure that your business is up and running to be able to service the clients, pay your staff, and hopefully acquire more clients and ensure that your doors are open for the next 2 to 3 years. So the target market can be structured in many different facets, and it needs to align with your product or service. So understanding your product, who it's intended for, And that can be broken into different segments. Is there a specific age demographic? Is my product intended for a certain age? And if not, great, that does make it a lot broader and a lot easier for us to kind of market out there. The next objective, or the next targeting parameter I would also look at, is gender. Is your product or service intended for a specific gender, male or female? If you are providing a female hair salon service, you wouldn't be targeting your ads at males, because that could be essentially wasted budget, which now ultimately affects your return on investment. So ensuring that you understand your target market, who the ad's going to be displaying for, because with Google, you are paying per click. So every time generally a user clicks on your ad, you're going to be paying for that. So maximizing it and ensuring you're avoiding unnecessary people clicking on your ad will ensure you don't waste budget and hopefully can convert at a higher rate. So we could look at additional things like certain behaviors and interests. What are people behaving? What certain actions do they perform on websites? Remember, Google is collecting this data from all users. They might not be collecting personal data, they might be, but it's more the actions that they take on websites. Are you inquiring? Are you purchasing products? Are you completing lead forms? Are you downloading ebooks? So these things they collect, and over time, and when an advertiser is configuring Google Ads, we can include these certain options within Google to configure it and align and essentially instruct Google to display our ads to more people that either are generally inclined to convert, have converted in the future. We could even cap our potential conversion cost, that we are not prepared to spend above a certain amount for a conversion, so that Google can hopefully use its algorithm and identify a user that will convert at that cost. So that's where the target market can be probably initially quite difficult for a client to understand, but that's where it's largely reverse engineering it. This is my product, who is it intended for, and maybe looking at their current client base, and then from that making those decisions and starting rather smaller rather than broader, and widening up the audience would probably be my preferred suggestion on the audience segment.
That's great advice, Justin. I think so many small business owners are not quite sure who they are targeting. They've normally started from the point of, this would be an amazing product, I'm sure someone will like it, instead of, who am I targeting? What is that group of people interested in? So they probably need to do a bit of reverse engineering for themselves and have those conversations either in their teams if they have a team. But I loved your suggestion to go through existing customers, existing clients, and kind of find the golden thread through those. Because at the end of the day, you're a small business owner, you do not have money you don't have cash to burn, you really don't have money to make lots and lots of mistakes on, or target too broadly, in the sense that you are doing the spray and pray approach, which means it's just going to be less effective. So I think you raised some really excellent points there. I think let's talk about that second question on our list. What is your offer? Again, this sounds really obvious, but perhaps not.
And 100% there. And I think that your offer needs to align with your target market. And possibly even before there, I do think it's one of the questions, but I think the following questions is also with your offer, understanding your competition and what is unique to your offer that your competition isn't doing. So that'll allow you to position that offer in such a way that if your competition isn't offering what you're offering, you have a unique selling proposition and adding that value. I found and realized based on the data over the last few years that people want a certain product or service, but they don't want to be sold to. If they can see the value, they will normally know that it's valuable and that they can't do without the product. So if people, especially with Google search ads, if they're searching for a product, they have a higher intent. So back in the day with traditional marketing, 10 years ago, businesses used to largely either do cold calling, door-to-door sales. Essentially with Google Ads, we are putting the power into our hands to get the people knocking on our doors. So again, if it's very focused, if the offer is right, if the messaging aligns with the offer and the value is there, the client will make an informed decision to purchase or take that offer and hopefully start using your services and become a loyal, raving customer.
Brilliant. And just to clarify, I'm just wondering in my head while you've been speaking, do we need to give an example about an offer? I think some business owners may be slightly confused. Maybe some of them are thinking, well, I just want to tell people about these dog grooming combs that I've made. So why do I need an offer? Can't I just share photos of the combs and the before and after photos of the dog once the comb has been used? Do people wanting to explore this area need to think differently about offer? Because most of them, I'm pretty sure, are thinking, I just want people to see my product. Isn't it obvious what the offer is?
So 50-50. So in this day and age, people want instant gratification. We found that spoon feeding, being clear as simple, and just because we understand our offer as our business owners, it doesn't mean the client understands the offer. So ensuring that they search, what did the user search for? So I'm primarily using Google Ads and Google Search. So sometimes imagery also isn't always available within the Google Search platform. So if you're using Google Shopping ads, then you have your imagery and your product becomes the focal point. But with search, sometimes it's text. So if they're specifically typing in dog combs, that keyword should match your title and something about maybe the best combs available in a certain location, or the best combs available for these specific dog breeds. So the relevance needs to be there to ensure that Google will display your ad. So the higher the relevance from your ads, the keywords, the better your positioning will be. And then if they're clicking through to your website, that relevance also needs to be there. And then that's where your website can be your salesman, really talking for you on your behalf 24/7. And that's where your offer should really be positioned. It's just trying to get their attention. The ad is more the bait. How can we get their attention, become to the top of the search, so we don't need to work too hard on our SEO? And with larger companies, they have the bigger budgets, so sometimes that could become a wasted effort. So AdWords can become a long-term strategy on the condition that we can control our budgets, have forecasts knowing that a certain cost per conversion or cost per acquisition works within our budgets, and I now know I can budget on X and I'm going to see X return. They can then plug it into their budget, and the nice thing with Google Ads, it can actually be a turn on, tap on, turn off situation where, depending on your capacity and influx, you could actually generate some leads. You don't have the capacity, slow it down until such time that your pipeline opens up and you're able to turn that on again and generate the additional leads. So it all depends. You need to review your internal business structures as well to understand not just the offer, but your capacity, what you can do at the same time to ensure that you can manage it effectively and manage those clients and the relationships to ensure referrals, which could be another marketing strategy.
That's brilliant, Justin. I think you raised such a key point that we've spoken about outside of this conversation already, but the issue of websites. I think possibly small business owners need to go and have a cold, hard look at their websites, and maybe even get people who've never looked at the website, who will be honest with you and will not try to please you, to go and have a look at the website and see if it's doing what you are hoping that it is going to do. Because it's no point driving thousands or hundreds of thousands of people to your main and primary online selling space, and then it's not doing the job, it's not clear, it's difficult to navigate, the user experience isn't great, maybe your products aren't represented very well. So I think that's another issue that small business owners really, really need to take a hard look at.
Yeah, and maybe if I could even touch on that, I think, and so that is true, but there's also other strategies that could be utilized that possibly don't require a website. So depending on your business, depending if you're an entrepreneur, if you are selling maybe consultancy services, you could actually position that you don't require a website, as an example, have Google Ads, search ads, and only use it on mobile for call to clicks. And then those people, it's rather trying to drive calls through to your mobile phone as opposed to your website. And instead of your website doing the sales, you as a individual sales professional is trying to convert that person on the phone. So again, there's different strategies depending on your objective and what you're looking for, what objective am I looking for, what do I need to do to get there? And that's again where the reverse engineering comes in play, and what steps do I need to do to be able to get to my ideal goal.
Yeah, that's brilliant. Yeah, so just an aside to those of you watching, if you do need help with websites, I'm here to help. We spend a lot of time looking at clients' existing websites and spotting all the holes or the miscommunications, or that the language is complex and difficult to understand, or the usability is tough. So sometimes your IT guy made your website for you 5 years ago, and it is actually doing your brand a disservice. So we're welcome to get in touch. We'll have a talk about it, but yeah, definitely something to look at. And thank you, Justin, for that other approach where you can also drive.
Well, one last thing on there, Lisa, is actually so with Google Ads, the load time will also be a big thing with the websites. So ideally, your website should load within 3 seconds. After 8 seconds, 50% of the people that are clicking on Google Ads are leaving. So that then ultimately doubles your potential cost per click, and your cost per conversion. So your return on investment gets a lot less. So optimizing your website, especially from not just aesthetic, as you mentioned, but can the visit get to your website, also then needs to be reviewed, because they're looking for that, again, instant, and they can find it somewhere else by going in through to Google search and looking at the competitors.
Yeah, that's excellent input. Thank you, Justin. So I think let's go into our next question. Business owners need to think about, what are their customers searching for? Tell us more. What information would you need as an expert, or would they need as people doing it themselves? What kind of extrapolations do they need to make from that question? What are their customers searching for?
I think the simplest would be to, depending if you have now a website, actually use Google Analytics and Search Console if that's been set up. So Search Console would give you a direct correlation of what people are typing into Google to land on your website. So that might be a nice first go-to. But if you have low traffic and you aren't too sure, I would say put yourself in the client's shoe. If you were your ideal client, what would you be typing into Google for you to be found, or for you to find those products or services? And I would also advise including a variety of different searches to see what displays. And then from that, trying to get that indication of, is that search relevant to that product or service? And hopefully then making note of those specific search terms, keywords, and product offerings, so that you could become aware of them and possibly save them somewhere and build up a little bit of a library and do that research and review on an ongoing basis. The nice thing, even with ChatGPT and a lot of the other AI systems, that market and trend research can be done very cost effectively, where you could pop in a specific dialogues or instructions, and Google or ChatGPT could actually give you a bit of breakdown and that analysis that you might be looking for.
Wow.
And again, also within Google Ads, there's also a keyword planner that you could put your website in there, and it can crawl your website to identify what keywords you have on there and what could be beneficial. But there could be certain things lacking if you haven't spoken to a conversion optimization specialist or a content strategist to ensure that the content aligns with your product offering, to ensure that something wasn't missed. Because you might understand your product, but the goal is to ensure that the client can understand. The client can make an informed decision when they go and view your services. But yes, what are they searching for? That would then need to correlate with the search terms, the ad itself, and your website.
That's brilliant. I think some really key tips from Justin there. Everyone, if you're listening, then make sure you jot down some of those platforms that he's mentioned and have a go. I know you are going to learn a load. So moving on to the next question, our viewers and listeners here need to be asking themselves, what do they want out of their ad campaigns? So as the business owner, what is their objective when they run their campaign?
So I think that is probably then one of the primary questions is, what do you want as a business owner from this? Are you looking to educate? Are you looking to sell a product? Are you looking to sell a service? Because that could then impact what objectives we use, what kind of campaign setting structures we use, and what messaging we use to take them through to that intended platform. Say, for example, now it's a e-commerce website. That's a lot then easier. It's a product. We're selling a product and we want to get them to our product. And that then aligns with the product keyword, ensuring that your website is communicating the product offering, the unique selling proposition, and the price. And then largely it's for them to make an informed decision so that they could purchase it. If you're offering now a service, can be now it's dependent on the service. Everything we've spoken about before, who's it intended for, who's the market, what actions they want to take. Largely with the service, it's going to be either contact us, WhatsApp. So if you're looking to generate a lead, you'd need to have then some form of lead magnet on the page. And the less hoops that you're making the user jump through, the easier it is for that person to hopefully convert. So for consultancy or for services, I would rather advise sometimes landing pages, because websites could take them down certain rabbit holes, and now you might not have a lead form in there or a call to action that doesn't convert the user. So sometimes a landing page with a Google Ad service, to say, for example, dog grooming services in Cape Town, and that's a dedicated landing page, and then the person now knows they're looking for that service, they land on there, we present our sales pitch and contact us for more information. There's a form in there, or there's a WhatsApp button. And now there we could then either chat to them directly on WhatsApp, so that way to collect the lead, or directly collect their name, email, contact number, so that you could follow up with them, and you also have them on your mailing list so that you could email certain promotions to them on an ongoing basis. If it was for education and you now needed to more prime them and start tracking them, so that could be, depending again on your strategy, let's use Google search to identify and generate some traffic. So this is more than a long-term strategy, people doing research keywords, so maybe more for like software agencies and maybe even web developers, because they're not going to normally make a decision on the first company they look at. So our objective here is to generate the traffic, but now to start tracking them and remarketing to them. So we want to educate them now so that we can give them some more information, and possibly, if you have the facility, a lead magnet, offer them something for free that they can't do without. Why don't we capture that lead? Because then again, that gives you the opportunity to market to them for free using email marketing. But then also, because they've landed on your website, if you're using the Facebook pixel or a variety of other Instagram pixels, we could now remarket to them, presenting different offers. They've already seen the brand, and a user that has seen the brand before becomes 50 to 70 times more likely of utilizing the services of that brand in the future. But it does require sometimes 5 to 7 times different messaging for them to take action. So again, it's depending on your objective, what is your ideal outcome, and what do we need to put in place to generate that outcome, and your deadline. I mean, if you are selling certain high ticket items and your sales process is 2 months, it's going to, obviously, generating leads now, it's going to take 2 to 3 months to close those sales. So you need to work that in your pipeline, whereas certain other companies might be able to sell products on a day-to-day basis, and they can bring recurring sales. So again, it's looking at your specific business, your processes, and trying to reverse engineering that to say, what do I want in an ideal world? And then trying to now put that into Google and those little instructions that ultimately create that recipe that will deliver those goals for you.
Brilliant. I know if you are watching, you may be a little confuzzled about some of those terms that Justin used, but don't worry. This video will be saved onto this Facebook page, so you can actually come and re-watch and take some notes and then start Googling some of these terms. Unfortunately, we don't have the time to go through all of them here, but this resource will be available later. So we also need to ask the question, Justin, when we're thinking about our campaigns and setting up our campaigns, so we've spoken about what we want to get out of our campaigns as a business owner. So maybe that's brand awareness, education, any of those things you've just mentioned. But then the next question, what do we want the customer to do? Now that seems like an obvious question, potentially. If you in your head are thinking, I need more sales, that's probably what you're thinking, but not necessarily. Can you speak into that for us?
Sure, 100%. I think the old traditional way is more nice way to kind of showcase that. When you had a website that was home, about, services, contact us. So there's not a big intended call to action. If the person's really interested, they're going to go ahead and contact you. If you don't know what you want from the customer, your website just becomes a visual brochure, and where you're presenting some information and they'll come to you if they really want and need your services. But the goal is for the site to be a 24-hour online salesperson that doesn't talk back, it's not asking for additional raises, and it can work for you on your behalf. So then again, you now need to know how to collect it and generate that lead or sale. So requesting a quote. And again, that call, as we refer them as call to actions, ensuring that call to action is inserted into a place where you've presented some informative information. At any element where you presented information that a client can make informed decision to either take action or to get them to scroll further and read further, so you can present them with more information, either stats, so that they can make an informed decision and take action. That should be the ideal goal. The goal is for the site to be your sales agent, but while they're on there, to convert them as quick as possible so that you can generate that lead and hopefully contact them, follow up with them, and convert them into a paying customer.
Brilliant. Love it. So the next question is, how will you get your customer to take action?
So that would be, as I mentioned, on the call to action. So a request to quote. So depending on the objective and what you want the user to do, if you are providing like a product service, it's add to cart or buy now, and maybe with a time urgency you see offer. So urgency, scarcity also do really well. Those are kind of now traits. I don't like scare tactics, but to a degree, if the offer is right and you can get, you've seen a lot of other websites where they actually have 4 or 5 hours and to get the 20% discount. So a lot of them just roll over, and that becomes a kind of strategy that marketers use and websites use to create that sale right now, as opposed to waiting for it and presenting them with a different offer, remarketing to them at an additional cost. So the call to actions need to align with the objective. I want the person to purchase. I want the person to request a quote. I want the person to request a demo, not just contact us. Sure, contact us can be one of the call to actions, but what resonates with me might not resonate with you. And what resonates with a different user that's scrolling and viewing that ad might not resonate. So there needs to be a variety of different call to actions, depending they are in their reading process and if they require more information. And then sometimes it is, maybe let's have a WhatsApp chat to talk about it further. So there can be a variety of call to actions. And again, it needs to align with your business process and how you're going to potentially monetize. If you need to do sales calls with them, book a consultation so that we can have a 10-minute consultation to show you the benefits and what this can do for you. So sometimes maybe not being too salesy, but generating their interest and captivating them first, and then trying to sell them. Providing them with value might be more beneficial than directly selling to them at first.
That's brilliant. I love that. And I know something that I always tell clients as well is, don't assume people know what they need to do next to do business with you or to buy from you. People generally don't know what seems obvious to you. So, and as well, your point that contact us is quite a weak, potentially quite a weak call to action. If all of the buttons on your website say contact us, you have problems. It's not a very inspiring or motivating call to action. So for example, on my website, the call to action is book a discovery call. That's what I want people to do. I want them to book a 15 to 30 minutes chat with me so we can work out, is there a connection? Can I do what you need done for you? Do you know what you need, what your brand needs rather? So yeah, it seems like a really small, insignificant question, but can end up making you a lot more money or kind of not helping your business at all. So a really big one. And then the next question, Justin, what are your competitors doing?
I think that's also a very good question. And there you need to do the research and actually put yourself in the client's shoes and put in those relevant keywords. And you actually need to understand that their offerings, their messaging, how their landing pages look compared to yours. And that also allow you to understand, can I compete within this market or can't I? Am I going to be wasting my time right now with what I have if I had to be competing against these top 6 companies, competing against the same keywords or product offerings? So ensuring that you know what your competition is doing, what they're marketing, what they're saying, that will help you align your strategy and understand if you need to do more work or if your marketing strategy can be launched and hopefully compete against them. Normally it is whoever gets the click first can potentially convert on the condition that the landing page has been optimized and you've got those call to actions in place to be able to convert the traffic.
Okay, brilliant. I'm sure you found that super helpful, everybody watching. On to our next question. It is our second last question. People do also need to ask themselves, what is their budget? Because not everyone has, like the Barbie movie, $150 million to splash on their marketing. So you do have to have a reality check and ask yourself, what is your budget?
So with the budget question, that also needs to be more reverse engineered into your margins or your return on your potential return on investment. So first off, I would actually advise trying to understand, what does a client mean to you? What is the lifetime value? What is the initial value? How much are you prepared to pay for a lead and for a client? So say, for example, now we have a R1,000 budget, and that R1,000 budget could either be used fast or slowly. But what are we going to do and generate with that R1,000 budget? It's not just the budget we have, it's what are we going to generate from that. So let's say now from the R1,000 budget, we're going to generate 100 leads at 10 Rand each. This is just hypothetical to give you some indication. So it's going to be 10 Rand a lead. And from that, it's actually going to take you one in 10 leads is going to convert. So essentially your cost per client acquisition is now 100 Rand. But let's say you're selling maybe back to the dog combs, and your dog combs are 120 Rand, and your margins, you're only making a 30 Rand profit, you're actually spending more than you're making there. But if you are providing a consultancy service, that could be totally different. So it needs to work within your business model and actually understanding what you are prepared to pay for a client a lead. And then if you know your conversion ratios, that 1 in every 2 clients would convert from my sales pitch or from my website, I just need to get these leads, I could do the rest. If you know that conversion ratio, that's great, because that allows you then to understand, once you start the marketing, okay, I'm generating a lead for 50 Rand initially, but the nice thing is that the more data you collect, the more you optimize your campaigns, the less you should spend for a same lead over time, because there's optimization. Google will get to learn your business, your product server better, and align your advertising to people that'll take the same actions more regularly. So initially it might be 50 Rand, but within 4 to 6 months, that could be 30 Rand or 25 Rand. So sometimes I see a lot of business owners give up too easily because they see it to be too expensive. You just need to ensure that for how long could you potentially pay for, or that cost, what is that cost and what does it mean to you, and how long can you carry that cost, and at what point does it become profitable for you? And then again, you can reverse engineer that into your budget, and now it can be a scalable model, knowing that I am generating on average, let's say 50 leads. From that 50 leads, I'm acquiring 10 clients, but the clients are costing me 250 Rand. So I'm able to spend 2,500, but I want 20 clients in a month. Does it make sense for me to spend 5,000 Rand? But because I'm spending more, you actually get a compounded reach. So the more you spend, Google will give you more reach for a lower cost, and therefore hopefully a reduced cost per acquisition, we could be 40 Rand. So again, it's trying to understand the costing around the acquisition rather than your more budget and what you're prepared to pay for that customer. I think that's more important than your budget, and reverse engineering that. And then trying to ascertain, now I can scale. Now I'm in a position where how many 50 Rands or 100 Rands do I have? I'm happy to pay that to acquire a client. And then it becomes a repetitive model, and it allows you to forecast, knowing that I can potentially generate 100 leads with this budget and acquire 10 clients, which ensures that your business can run, and you could potentially, even from that, employ more staff and scale the budget again moving forward.
That's amazing, Justin. Now I've gone blank on what I was going to tell you. I was going to ask you something. Oh, yes, I know. So benchmarking. I know not everyone has this kind of deep dive information about their business at their fingertips. Most small business owners have no idea what it's going to cost them to acquire a client. It sort of falls into their lap, and a lot of them will be in that space. But is there some kind of industry benchmarking where you can confidently say, before someone sets up their campaign, in your industry, in the dog grooming industry, most people are paying R5 to get a new sale? Is there anything
so unfortunately,
like that?
it's dependent on industry. To provide you with some context, a cost per click, not talking leads or acquisitions, a cost per click can range anywhere from R1 to R300. So again, it's depending on how competitive the space is. So in the insurance space, OUTsurance and them, they're paying over R300 to R500 for a click, because it's big companies and essentially they're auctioning off against each other. So it's now trying to find maybe niche markets where you can maybe generate one cost per click. But to ascertain your cost per acquisition, I'd rather say, what are you charging for your service? So for example, now I'm charging R1,000. What is the cost of the service? It costs me R500. So therefore, is my profit maybe R500, but what expenses do I have? And then what is your net profit? Maybe let's say R200. So if your net profit's R200, you maybe need to say, okay, I'm prepared to spend R200 initially to potentially acquire a client, but I'm not making much money from that. If I spend R100, at least I'm making R100. So it's within your profits cost ratios that you really need to look at those costs, not really the costs on Google side and benchmarking that. It needs to be within your cost, knowing that if I sell this product, I'm selling this product for R50. It costs me R30 to make, and I'm not prepared to spend more than R10 on advertising the product. If I'm spending more than that, it's not feasible long term. So I think it's more trying to find it that way. Maybe using a example for one of my other clients recently that I had to use the same analogy for. They provide a roof waterproofing service, and they told me that they don't want to spend more than R50 a lead. So I asked them largely, but why? How much do you make on a client? And they said, well, it depends between 20 to 50,000. So, okay, but how much does your staff cost? Well, it also depends on the job. Do you make more than 10,000 Rand on a project that maybe costs 2 to 3 days? And they said, yes, in January. So I asked them, would you be and that client could possibly use your services again, or they could refer you. So is that client, if I had to offer you a new client right now, would you be prepared to pay R1,000 to generate that 10,000? And he said, yes. So I asked him, but why aren't you prepared to pay more than R50 for your lead? And then it was kind of like, okay. And now their sales process is quite good, and it's a lot less than that. So their cost per acquisition after sales, so they need 5 leads to get one customer. So their acquisition is largely, their costs are now at R50, but initially it wasn't. So on average, they are now getting a customer for R250, but they make over 10,000 generally per project. Wow. So it's really understanding what that is, and it might be quite cost effective and allow you to then really scale, knowing that I'm paying R100 to acquire a paying client, especially if it's e-commerce business. Now I can scale. Now I'm making R1,000 on every client, and maybe the lifetime, maybe it's R1,000 a month. Now all of a sudden that client is 12,000 value each month, each year, but you only paid maybe R100 for him. So it's really for a business owner to understand the value of that client, be it if they're selling once off, or what the lifetime value is of that client, and putting that into their sales process, understanding what would they be prepared, if they had to give money right now for any person to come off the street, what would they pay for a client to come to them, and how many of those do they have within their cash flow to acquire more?
Brilliant. Justin, another question that's come to me while you were speaking: should business owners be looking at Google ads and social media ads as a long-term strategy?
So yes, so Google Ads can be a short-term strategy depending also on your SEO. So Google Ads is there to get your brand, your service, your product offering at the top of Google and help you compete with some of the larger agencies. In an ideal world, and if you are going to be in business for the next 10, 20 years, trying to optimize your website to rank to the top of Google so that you don't need that continual advertising budget. Because if you are scaling, that could be, it depends if it works within your business model and you know that you're spending 10 Rand to acquire a client, now it's how many 10 Rands you have. Great, if that works for you, great. But if you can acquire clients organically by doing a smaller long-term investment, by working on your SEO, ensuring that your social media platforms are looked after, which has SEO benefit, that could rank your website over time. And now you could start generating organic traffic, which essentially means free traffic, free customers, and then kind of starting to kind of slowly decrease your advertising budget or not increase it, but just maintain it at a consistent level. I would heavily advise on social media and social media ads because you are now paying for Google traffic. Google traffic can be quite expensive on the condition you aren't converting. But if you are using now, again, the Facebook pixel, LinkedIn pixel, the person was interested in your products or services. How can we get that person back? Can we now say, for example, if you've got an e-commerce website, they landed on a product and maybe it was something that they didn't take action on right now. We could use then Facebook ads to present them with an offer with a 10% if they take action in the next one day, as an example. So that might be then, again, the person was interested, but maybe they didn't have their card with them. That for whatever reason, they didn't take action. How can we get them back? And that's where social media can be quite powerful because it's a fraction of the cost. The person is already interested and we can lure them back with the offer on the product that they were looking for. So again, that's very targeted and it only needs to display to them. The same with a person adding to a product to a cart, like an abandoned cart. We could display them with a specific Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, LinkedIn offer, and it's only directed to those users. So that could be, again, controlled at cost effectively, ensuring you aren't wasting your Google budget, if that all makes sense.
No, that's perfect. My final question is actually around, I'm so glad you brought up social media advertising, because while this conversation was mostly focused on Google Ads, the beginner's crash course will be touching on Google Ads and Facebook ads. And my sort of space is the creative. So on social media, well, so my understanding, Justin, please jump in if you want to throw in, is Google Ads tends to be more text heavy unless you're doing shopping ads, where you can have images related. Social media,
or videos.
Pardon?
Or videos where you're doing actual YouTube ads.
Okay, or videos, so YouTube ads, whereas social media is a lot more imagery heavy. So you can't just write a 2 or 3 line promotion or use that sort of selling language and hope that things are going to go your way. You've got to actually have a lot of video material or photographic material to support drawing the eyeballs onto your advertising.
Yeah, if I might came in there, I feel that is now also understanding your audience and understanding the platform that they digest and absorb content on. So Google is a place, yes, for search and for you to optimize and be very targeted for your specific search terms. However, from an exploratory and branding and awareness perspective, Facebook ads can be quite cheap. And if you know your audience, you can position and get an ad in front of the right target market on the right platform. And if it's the right time, the right audience, the right offer, they can take advantage. And it can be also really cost effective if you know your audience. And again, possibly using lookalike audiences and customer lists, which can be uploaded into these different platforms, where Facebook can create something that looks similar based on your current client lists that can ensure that you hopefully get there faster and see some results. And again, it doesn't need to be expensive budgets. I always rather advise test the water, see some results, and then scale, as opposed to trying to put your big whole cash flow into it and essentially it comes wasted because you haven't planned, identified your target market, where is your demographic on, are they on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, what time of days? You could even structure advertising to be delivered at certain times of days. We had a medical where we used to communicate ads to professional doctors, and we found that they were never on social media platforms during the day, but in the evenings from 10 to 2 they would be online, and then they would be taking action. So we stopped all our ads generally during the day and presented them on social media at those times, and saw a lower cost per acquisition, and we could use that budget elsewhere.
Justin, you are exceptionally knowledgeable, and I feel like we've only just touched the tip of the iceberg, but I think our time is up. It's been wonderful having you, and also I feel like I've learned a lot just listening to you share your wealth of knowledge. If you would like to join us on Saturday, the 26th of August, we will be hosting a beginner's crash course for Google Ads and Facebook ads. You've heard Justin now. You can see he knows exactly what he's talking about. He's a real expert, and you can only learn when you join us for that. So spots are limited, so make sure that you sign up very, very soon and nab yours. You can email me. I'll put my email address in a comment below, but my email address is lisa@anagomarketing.co.za. We'd love to have you join us, and have a wonderful weekend, everybody. Thanks, Justin.
Thank you. Have a great day and weekend. Chat soon.